What's up, guys? Today we're going to be installing the skid plates on the Tacoma. For that, I got RCI's complete skid plate package, which includes their engine, T-case, transmission, and fuel tank skid plate. I will have a link down in the description to these if you want to go check them out in case you're interested in getting some for your Tacoma. But I got the lift up on, or got the Tacoma on the lift, so we're ready to get started bolting these things in. All right, I have the front all ready for the engine skid plate to go in. I ended up taking off this front valance piece just to get a little extra room, and it's going to end up coming off for the bumper anyways. Then you need to take the two brackets that go from here up to the core support off on both sides. Those attached to the original skid plate, you won't be using those anymore. And then the skid plate will attach up here, here, and then back here on this cross member. Quick pro tip, if you're installing something like this by yourself, take the bolts that you're going to be using, set them up here. That way they're prepped and ready for when you have the skid plate up there. You can just put them in real quick and you don't drop anything. Definitely not light. All right, so on the back here, you're going to use the supplied hardware that they send with you, which is the two bolts, the washers and spacers. Those go here on the back, and then on the front bolts, you just reuse the M12 hardware that came off of the factory braces. Put the spacer up there, our washer. All right, the front skid plate is installed in this thing. You want to leave a 1/2 inch gap right here in the front if you're installing the full package. That way the transmission skid plate can slide in there and have room. You will also need to remove these bars on both sides. The skid plate will bolt up here and be in the way of these. It will also take the place of these bars in protecting the cats right there. All right, this one's a little bit lighter, so we shouldn't have to use the stand to get it up in there. Take your carriage bolt, set that up through there. Got these little half washers right here. They're cut in half like that, so you can press them up against the side of where the cross member bolts to, and it will clamp it correctly. Put your washer, lock nut, and you're done. All right, so moving on to the rear cross member here for the TK skid plate, you're going to want to remove this bolt for the brake bracket as well as the bolt up here to remove the plastic piece on both sides. Oh, need an extension. All right, now that we have those pieces removed, the plastic pieces as well as that bolt, we can toss in the rear cross member that goes to the TK skid plate. You're gonna wanna put this brake line bracket on the inside of this mount. Slide it up into place like such. And then bring that down and toss the bolt in if you can. Then you got your washer and your nylon lock nut that you're going to put on the back side inside the frame here. Now we can go ahead and start tightening this a little bit and get it singed up. All right, now that the cross member is set in place, it's still loose. I'm gonna tighten it up once we get the skid plate in. We're gonna take the bolts that they have for that, which is 3 of them across the back here, as well as the supplied nuts, washers, and lock washers. And we'll toss the skid plate up in there. All right, so this is the same as the transmission skid plate. It's got slots in here that will slide into the transmission skid plate. You wanna make sure you hang that down a little bit lower so these can slide in. Then these are the bolts that will bolt to the cross member we just added. All right, there we go. Now that we have that all installed, we'll start working our way from the front to the back, tightening the bolts, and then once those are tight, including these, we will tighten the side bolts with it pressed up against there. All right, I have all the skid plates officially in except for the gas tank skid plate. I forgot to order the straps for that, so I'll have to do that later. But everything else is in at the moment. Got a cross member in place. Everything turned out really nice. It's pretty awesome working on a new vehicle. Everything just comes off pretty easy. So I will have to get the straps for this. They have the studs for the skid plate. Pretty simple. You'll just replace the straps and then bolt the skid plate up. Other than that, I'm pretty excited with how it turned out. It should work well. I was kind of hit and miss whether I wanted to go with aluminum or steel, but I figured I would go with the steel because down the road, I'm probably gonna wheel it a little bit more aggressively and I want it to hold up well and work good for protection and not be denting and be difficult to remove them and put them back on. So that's why I went with steel. They will work good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So next up on the list is gonna be installing the bumpers and winch and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that video. Make sure you drop a like down below and a comment what you think of this setup or what you're running for skid plates. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on that. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.